What's up, YouTube? Okay, so we're coming back to do a follow-up video on towing this trailer with the Bison. There was several questions that was asked last time about the video and everything. There were some comments that were made, and I took it all into consideration, so we're going to revisit this and we're going to go over that stuff right now. So one of the first things that we're going to talk about is how level the trailer is with the truck. And I made this comment on the last video that I did not have the tongue set up for this truck. I had it set up for my tow vehicle. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this level, or the trailer level, so that way it sits on the truck properly. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to weigh the tongue weight, because that was asked several times too. Third thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go get it weighed, truck by itself, trailer by itself, and then combined, so that we can show you those numbers. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to do another drive and show you from the camera from the inside, our dash camera from BlackVue, everything, how everything holds up. So we're going to get right into that. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do in getting everything level is, since the trailer is on the truck, I'm going to measure the height of where it sits right now. And the center of the ball is right at 16.5 inches. So now we're going to take the weight off of the truck and get everything level. Okay, so now we got the trailer off of the truck. We're going to go ahead and measure again, and the center of our ball is now 20 inches. So that means that this trailer made the truck squat 4 inches. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my hitch to the proper area to try and get the trailer as level as possible. And we know that we need to do this. We need to bring the hitch down to raise the trailer up to compensate for the weight and drop. The bad part is we only have so much space that we can go down. Okay, now that we did that, we're going to put the trailer back on the truck to see how we are as far as levelness. Is that even a word? Alright, now looking at the trailer, everything appears to be pretty level now with the truck. Yes, the truck is squatting down, but we know it was going to do that. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and raise the landing gear up. I'm going to put my scale underneath there, and then we're going to see what the actual tongue weight is at the proper level. Okay, so this is a Sureline trailer scale, a tongue weight scale. The way that you're supposed to do this is go right here, but we don't have blocks. I didn't bring blocks to do it, so I'm going to use the trailer jack. It's more accurate right here, but the thing is we're only talking about 10 inches, 15 inches of different space, so I think it'll be pretty close. We'll be within a few hundred pounds. Well, a few hundred pounds. Less than that, probably about 8%. Because if it was a few hundred pounds, that'd be a huge margin of error. I want to make sure it's centered. Okay, right there, we are clearly off of the truck, and it is showing about 780 pounds of tongue weight. It's a pretty heavy trailer. So next, we're gonna go ahead and hook it back up, and we'll see you at the scale house. Oh my, so it is super hot outside. Temperature showing 94 degrees, and it's just the beginning of June. I think it's June, right? I don't even know what month it is. I'm pouring sweat. Anyways, so a couple of things that I wanted to hit on before we get to the scale house. In the first video, there was lots of comments about how if I wanted to tow all the time, or if I wanted to do this, if I wanted to do that, specifically dealing with the capabilities of this truck and towing, that I shouldn't have gotten a Bison. I understand that. I know that that was not the purpose of this vehicle, of towing. We bought this vehicle, first off, because we absolutely love it. Second off, because we want to play with it. But it's an added bonus to be able to hook up to the boat if we wanted to tow it down the road and go to the lake. Going off of that, oh gosh, I think I got the trailer brake set too heavy. Going off of that, let me turn that down a little. The reason why we're doing a video with this particular trailer is because, going off of Chevy's recommendations and their tow specs, this trailer maxes out this vehicle as far as towing capabilities. Talking about towing weights and capabilities and all of that stuff, there's a reason why the Bison and the ZR2 are in a lower category as far as towing capabilities. And I went straight to the dealership and asked these guys over there if they could give me more information on that. And just as I suspected, it's because of the lift kit that's on the vehicle. So am I saying, is it just the lift kit that's on the ZR2s and a Bison, or is it lift kits in general? Well, as far as Chevy's concerned, all they care about is what they put on their vehicles. But I will let you know that any suspension modifications that you do to your vehicle will change the towing capabilities. It doesn't matter if it's aftermarket, it doesn't matter if it's stock, it doesn't matter anything like that. If you change the vehicle's suspension, it changes the vehicle's towing capabilities. Going off of that also, or to add to it, a lot of people, they start adding in these ranch hand bumpers and all this other fancy cool stuff. And I get it. I love the way they look too. In fact, on my Mega Cab, I had all of the bumpers on there, and I didn't quite understand what happened to your towing until I started reading up and kind of educating myself on that. So your vehicle, it has, if you look at your door sticker, and I'll post a picture of that. If you look at your door sticker, it gives you your front axle ratings, it gives you your rear axle ratings, it gives you your gross vehicle weight rating, all of this stuff, and your payload. That is a number that you've really got to pay attention to, your payload. So what the payload is anything that you put in the vehicle. So a toolbox, ranch hand bumpers, extra fuel tank, passengers, yeah. Your tongue weight goes into your payload. Okay, so any one of those numbers changes the capability of the vehicle's towing. Can the vehicle physically do it? 9 times out of 10, yes, but it changes the weights. And there is a difference in the weight in the front axle, the rear axle, your tongue weight, your trailer weight, all of that stuff. And we're going to hit on that a little more in depth here in a few minutes when we get to the scale house and we get some actual numbers. So we'll be right back with that. Okay, so we're at the scale. We're going to pull up and we're going to get 2 different weights. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to pull up on the scale. I'm going to drop the trailer once it's all the way on. I'm going to pull forward so that way the trailer is on its own scale, and then get a weight, and then I'm going to reconnect to the trailer and then pull forward again and get a weight of the truck and the trailer together. So we'll go ahead and show how that looks and the process of doing it. Okay, so what I just did is I weighed the trailer by itself, then I hooked back up with my re-weight, and I did it all from my phone because they were taking too long on the inside. And I screen recorded it so that way you guys can see what that looks like. And we'll talk more about numbers here in a minute. I'm not that tall up. It looks like you're recording way up here. Anyways, we'll talk about that here in a minute. I'm going to go inside and talk to them and see, make sure everything's squared away as far as paying for the scale for the tickets. But if you look, I wanted to point this out. If you look on the scale, you have yellow lines that separates the scales from each other. So from this line back, that's just for your trailer, and then this yellow line up front will get you your steer axle and then your rear axle. So that's why whenever you do your weighing, you want to put your trailer all the way on the trailer scale, and then you want to split your vehicle on the two scales that are there. And that way you can get the most accurate numbers possible. All right, so we just weighed the truck and the trailer separate, and then we combined them, and here's what we got. So the truck by itself, the front axle, the steer axle is 3,040 pounds, and the drive axle was 2,240. The trailer by itself was 4,600. So for a gross combined for truck and trailer, even though they weren't connected, was 9,880 pounds. So then whenever we connected the trailer back to the truck, it changed the numbers a little bit. And of course, if you're not at the exact spot on the scale, it can skew the numbers by a couple hundred pounds, which is what happened. Or I could have been standing halfway on the scale whenever it took the reading or whatever. But the second time that we weighed was with the truck connected to the trailer, or the trailer connected to the truck, however you want to say it. The steer axle was 2780, which is down from the first reading. The drive axle was 3080, which is up from the first reading. And then the trailer axle, so it was just a trailer on there, was 4080. So what that tells us is that we have roughly 520 pounds of tongue weight, which I think the scale was somewhere in that area. I have to go back and double check on those numbers just to be sure. So these are the actual numbers. And why is this important? And I'll tell you why, because if you look at laws and everything regarding towing and everything, it's built around safety aspects. So everything goes into effect. What can your ball handle as far as weight? There's a weight rating. If you look on the top of it, it's stamped. Your receiver hitch, so the part that the ball actually hooks to, it has a weight rating. Your receiver on the vehicle has a weight rating. Your tongue has a weight rating. Your axles have a weight rating. Everything has a weight rating, and if you don't have all of that stuff taken into consideration, you can put yourself or other people's lives in jeopardy. And that's the one thing, that's the main reason why there are laws that govern everything as far as towing, is to keep people safe. It's not because the vehicle's not capable, because 9 times out of 10 they're more capable than what they're rated at. It's all about safety, and that's the only thing that I want everybody to take away from this video, is that the laws are not put out there to be silly or to do anything like that. Is to keep everybody on the road as safe as possible. So in the state of Texas, if your trailer weighs, what was it, 4,500 pounds or more, it is required by law to have trailer brakes. It's highly recommended that if it's anything over, I think, 2,200 pounds, they recommend you have trailer brakes on there. So just keep that in mind whenever you're setting up your vehicle. When you're loading your trailer, whether it's an RV or not an RV, a travel trailer, a dump bed trailer, a flatbed trailer, anything like that, as many of y'all have mentioned, you want to make sure that you have the trailer loaded properly so that you don't have too much tongue weight. Because if you have too much tongue weight, it picks up the front of the vehicle and you lose steering capabilities. If you have too much weight on the back of the trailer, or on the back of the trailer, then you're going to lift up your rear axle and you're going to lose your braking capability, you're going to lose your acceleration, you're going to lose a lot of things. So it's going to affect how the vehicle pulls. Last but not least, a lot of people have made the comment about having the anti-sway bars and everything. Anything over 3,000 pounds or 4,000 pounds or 5,000 pounds, whatever, you're absolutely right. They do work. They work well. They're pricey, but if you're towing regularly, then I would recommend having them if you're going to do a bumper pull. Otherwise, a lot of things that you can do, for instance, this video, we're pulling this trailer just to show what it can do safely and save the limits. So now we're going to go ahead and get back on the road, and we're going to do some driving and see how the vehicle handles now that we've got everything aligned properly and everything's level and we have a good tongue weight so we know where we're at on that.
So these numbers changed. So you were talking about the weight distribution in the trailer. So I just kind of wanted to point out, so they were different whenever the vehicle was, or the trailer was disconnected and then reconnected. So in and of itself, when you connect a trailer, it redistributes the weight on the vehicle, and that was evidenced by the scales.
Correct. And so one of the things that I was talking about earlier, and I'm glad you brought this up because I completely forgot about it. I made an Excel spreadsheet that I'll post somehow. I'll probably put it on Rocky AUV's Facebook page so that way y'all can go download it. But I've got it set up to where you can punch in, and I'll show you the numbers. You pull all the vehicle numbers so you get as much information as possible from your vehicle. One of them is going to the scale and getting actual numbers. Because once again, the door sticker is going to tell you what the actual ratings are and what it should weigh and this and that, but anything that you add to it is going to change the vehicle's geometry and everything, essentially. So it's going to have, if you change the front bumper out, you're going to have more weight on the front axle, which is going to change your weight rating. If you have the rear bumper, if you have a big toolbox, a 75-gallon external fuel tank, etc., etc., it all changes the vehicle's capabilities because you're adding weight to it that it wasn't originally designed for. So taking all that into consideration, when you put the trailer on, it adds weight to the vehicle. So it changes yet again. It's going to take some weight off of the front end because it's applying more weight to the rear. Everything changes every time that you do something. So that's why it's so important to weigh your vehicle and know exactly where you're at before you start towing. And then going off of the spreadsheet, guys, I highly advise downloading it. You can play with it once or twice if you want to until you kind of understand how things work, but it's very important because certain things that you do, if you add more weight to the payload, so if you have your whole family in the vehicle, and that's another thing, if you're towing like an RV and you're planning on going on a road trip or something like that, you want to weigh the vehicle with everybody in it, with all of the stuff in it, the vehicle completely fueled up, everything, just as if you were going down the road on this road trip. That way you have the maximum numbers set. And then from there, you can redistribute the weight in the trailer to kind of play around with your towing weights and everything like that. It's very important to have those numbers. It's very, very, very important.
Now, with that said, I just want to reiterate so it's emphatically clear. This truck was not purchased for towing. This is my truck. This truck was purchased to play. Rock crawling, you know, mudding, that kind of thing. Eric has a truck that is specifically for towing. So this truck is not made for towing. It can, but that is not what this truck is for. We're just running numbers for the fun of it, for the educational purposes. So
absolutely, yeah. I can't, like Brandy said, can't stress it enough. This vehicle was not purchased for towing in mind. The benefit of this truck is that it can tow. That's why we opted for the diesel. That's part of the reason why we opted for the diesel. There's a couple reasons. One, the longevity of the motor, the torque, so whenever we do get out and we're playing in some rocks and stuff like that, we have a low end torque without having to really get on the motor. But then the last thing is towing. So that way, if we decide that we do want to hook up to the pontoon, or if we want to hook up to the flatbed, or if we want to do this, if we want to get a small ultralight travel trailer, we can do it with this. And that was what we had in mind when we purchased it. And then you add in that we love the way that the truck looks and everything else.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
All right.
Back to the road. Let's do it. All right, so we're going down the road. We're headed towards Killeen on, I forget what they call this road now. They just renamed it. But there's a hill just before Nolanville that everybody knows it as Nolanville Hill. It's probably the steepest, longest hill that we have around that will allow us to kind of show what the vehicle does, going down a grade and also coming up a grade. It's not going to match a lot of these other states, especially like Alaska, Colorado, everything that has big mountains and everything. But around our area, this is probably the best hill for this. So what I'm going to show, and I've got the cruise set at 65, speed limit 75. I've got it set a little bit below because I noticed that the RPMs were wanting to get too high and everything to carry a faster speed. I've got the vehicle set up in the tow haul mode, which is the little switch on the dash that says exhaust brake. It turns on the tow haul, and it does turn on the exhaust brake. So coming over to the gauges, I want everybody to kind of keep an eye on the RPM gauge. And as you go down the hill, right now we know that the exhaust brake is on and the vehicle should sense that we're speeding up. And whenever it speeds up, then it should apply the exhaust brake and you should see the RPMs raise a little. And this is what I was talking about before. I wasn't sure if it was working. It is, but this exhaust brake is not very strong at all. Okay, so it's maintaining the speed. It's got, I can feel that the exhaust brake is on, but you can see that the RPMs are just over 2,000 RPM. So I'm going to set the cruise down and see what happens. I'm going to apply the brake just slightly to see if it engages it anymore. And it does not. So that was with the exhaust brake full on going down the hill, and it only got up to about 2,000 RPMs. Alright, so we're going to go down the road, we'll turn around, and we'll come back up this same hill and see how it does with the same scenario. So we've made the turn around, and we're going to go ahead and get back on, I guess it's 195. Heck, I don't even know when I live here. I'm going to build up some speed.
Highway 95. It used to be 190.
190. So
I think it's 95 now.
Texas 95. So, anyways, so I'm gonna build up speed. I want to hurry up and get to this so we can merge into traffic. Speed limit is 75. I'm gonna set the cruise again at 65, and we're gonna watch what happens with the RPMs. The whole time that I've been driving, I've noticed that the hang on, let me see this real quick, Mama. I've noticed that the vehicle actually is towing much better now that we've got it level. And some people have made the comment about how it downshifts real hard and the RPMs get up real high and all this other stuff. And I'll be honest, I haven't experienced that at all with the towing at all. Okay, so now we're going up the hill. I'm not touching the accelerator at all. Like I said, I've got the cruise set at 65. Automatically downshifted and then started giving it some acceleration. And it's climbing the hill pretty well. This is, I mean, it's not a giant hill by any means, but it's got a decent little grade, and you know, it shows that the vehicle is having to work to, you know, keep the speed that we set at 65. And we're just about to the top of it. Almost. It should be downshifting, or upshifting, I'm sorry, to get back into a lower RPM anytime. It should sense that it's back on a kind of a level surface. And there we go. Okay, so sorry, I kind of hollered whenever I hit that phone. Okay, so what we've done is we've gone ahead and we've kind of gone back over all of the weights and everything with towing on it. Guys, be sure to check out the spreadsheet that I made. I hope it helps some. I hope it educates some others. I hope it gives something, you know, to help you with your towing needs and everything. We've talked about the weights and everything on this truck, and like I said in the other video, I firmly believe that this thing can pull more than what the recommended tow rating is physically. But just because it can physically do it does not mean that you should be doing it. All of those numbers are set there for safety reasons.
And not only that, it will take a toll on your vehicle.
Absolutely, yeah. Like Miss Brandy just said, anytime that you're exceeding anytime that you're really towing at all, you're putting extra strain and stress on the vehicle components. But especially whenever you exceed those ratings, you're putting an extreme amount of stress on those parts. Your U-joints, your ball joints, your tie rod ends, all of that stuff, you just really put a heavy strain on. So I think I've covered everything that a lot of people have asked. Oh, one thing I haven't hit on, somebody asked, and I promised that I was going to say this, we've had time to put our butts in these chairs for a good amount of time by now, and I tell you what, I'm really happy with them. And even though it is 98 degrees outside and these seats are not cooled seats, it's not terrible. Seats are very comfortable, and I have not had any problems sitting in either the driver or the passenger seat for an extended period of time. I haven't spent an extended period of time in the back seat. because that's not my place to sit back there. Anyways, I think I've hit on everything that people have asked questions about. Maybe touched on some things that some didn't hit on. I hope I gave out enough information that you have learned something. I hope all of that works out the way that everybody was kind of hoping. If y'all have any other questions, if you have any comments about this video, please, please, please let us know. And I'm still trying to get a car hauler and a Camaro to test that out. But anyways, it actually does tell a lot better once we got everything level. And I kind of had that feeling, and I'm rambling, so I'm going to cut this off. Mama, do you have anything? No comments?
Nope.
All right. So, like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so that way you'll know whenever we drop a new video, you'll get a notification. Thanks for all your views. Continue watching. Have a good one.